Good evening and welcome to another episode of Unscripted and Unchained RPG Review. I am DM Bluddworth, and as you can see by the graphics, tonight's video is an unscripted and unchained box opening and first look at Cyborg Commando. So if you've been following my channel for certainly the last couple of weeks, you'll know that I've had several different conversations and engagements with other members of the YouTube community revolving around whether it's Dungeons and Dragons more specifically, or just around tabletop role-playing games in general. And one thing came out about almost 2 weeks ago. A comment was made by Baron G Rock on Legions of Myth's Friday night stream. So not this past Friday, but the previous Friday. And he was responding to another YouTuber that I was having a conversation with. And that YouTuber kept on harping on the legacy of Gary Gygax. But he only saw the legacy of Gary Gygax tied to a game system that Gary Gygax had never even known of, never saw it, had no role in its, in its production. And Baron G Rock actually came out and said something that I thought was really brilliant, that if this individual was so high up on Gary Gygax and Gary Gygax's legacy, then that individual should be pushing for players, modern players, to look at some of the games that Gary Gygax actually touched. And that inspired me not only to mention that comment in a subsequent response video, but it also made me think, you know what? I really do have to get around to picking up the first game that Gary Gygax worked on once he left TSR. And when I say left TSR, he was actually forced out of TSR. And I think that was a detriment to Dungeons and Dragons in general. And probably even more broadly, it was a detriment to the tabletop role-playing hobby, because Gary's other works thereafter were kind of tainted with I think a concept of, well, he's washed up, or he doesn't have these, it's just not his, his realm any longer. And so his projects never seemed to gain the same kind of traction, obviously, as Dungeons and Dragons did. But I wanted to delve into them so that I can see, but there's got to be some quality there. And so I went to eBay, searched around for a good bargain and a complete set, and that's what I found. So this is what I picked up. It was a box set. It was roughly $60, and then with shipping and handling, it came out to about $70. So for $70, I picked up a complete game system, and it is in pretty darn good shape. All right, as you can see here. So it's a complete box, and this is the first time that I am actually opening the box itself. But when I first looked at it, I was like, wow, you know what? The box feels pretty solid. It's got a little tape on the ends here, so it was obviously taped closed at one point, but still the box itself seems to be fairly sturdy. And I do like to always show the boxes that, the covers and the base, so that you can see, yeah, this is very solid. Now moving on, as I say, I didn't know that there was going to be bubble pack in here. So here are the 2D10s and appear to be original. So Always nice to have the dice in there. And here we have the Ccf Manual, so the Cyborg Commando Manual. And literally my first look through it. Now, as you can see, the pages are pretty clear. Very good art. And let's see, when was this? Let's go through. So so it's written by Gary Gygax, Frank Mentzer, and Kim Mohan. Its editing and layout was Penny Petticord. Its art cover was David Dorman. Interior art by Jim Klaus, Diane Hamill, Todd Hamilton, Valerie Valusek, Gary Williams, and David Zenz. Special thanks to Jennings Kaplan, Rare Earth Information Center. Okay, and this was copyrighted 1987. Tri-G Enterprises Corporation, New Infinities Productions. So that was the first company Gary Gygax created when he was ousted from TSR. Very typical layout that you might be familiar with from games in the late 80s. So nothing nothing really out there that jumps off the page that's like, wow, this is kind of new or unfamiliar. It's certainly very familiar. It's very clean. Titles are in red, and the type is not too tiny, and it's not very jam-packed in there as well, so which is a great improvement over like the first edition AD&D Dungeon Master's Guide. And this is literally my first time seeing it. I did not see this game when it was released in 1987, and I'm certainly very happy with the condition of the first book, at least. And on the back cover, this I really like. I like the idea of putting the character sheet on the back of the booklet. That way it makes it very easy to photocopy it. And it looks like we have mental, natural, and physical. Neural, I'm sorry. Mental, neural, and physical. I wonder why there's a separate neural category. Stat-based data, skills, train, action, speed, EP, rest. It looks like a fairly simple system. And the fact that it only came with 2d10s, so I'm assuming that it's a percentile system as well. Probably very similar to that of Star Frontier, so I will certainly dig a little bit deeper into that and take a look at it. The campaign book is actually much thicker than the rule book itself. So this is probably like the Game Master's book here. So we have table of contents is the world population, European Commonwealth, the Pan-Asian Union, the Trans-American Union, the United Africa, United Nations of Oceania. The invaders are the Xenoborgs, xenobiology, Xenoborgs as beings, other aliens, Q space travel, invasion, post-invasion status. So it's basically the world setting, campaign booklet. Most likely has some random tables here, so you can create populations and population centers, obviously. Mentions what's left in the European Commonwealth. So we have Oslo, Liverpool, Amsterdam, Athentai, Barcelona, Napoli, and Istanbul. And they basically have a map of Europe here and some new labels. Looking through, it's looks like it has quite a bit of detail to it. Nice that it has, nice that it's set in this world setting, and so, you know, it becomes more of a science fiction, near post-apocalyptic kind of setting. So that's pretty cool. Another chart on the back of the book that makes it easy for you to make a copy of it and to just share it out there to the rest of the table. Yeah, they have both defensive values by hardness, Xenoborg chart, their mental, neural, and physical abilities, their movement rates, their different levels of captain, major, colonel, brigadier, and general. So, like I said, I'm not familiar at all with the game, so I wanted to dig into it and take a first look now, and then I will certainly do a deeper dive later. Then we have here the GM's Adventure Notes. And I'm assuming running your game, creating adventures and encounters. Oh, so this is kind of like a concise instruction manual on how to create adventures, and they give you little adventure hooks that are in here. So just little ideas of you know, what you can do. They have encounters, and we'll see. Well, that's interesting. So, yeah, so very interesting. So this is the player adventure notes. They do it where it's flipped through. So as I'm flipping through, I actually came across where all of a sudden the pages were upside down. I was like, I thought it was a reprint, but then I see that the GM's notes are on one side and the players are on the other. Very strange way of doing it. I'll see how that works out. Then we have some loose character sheets. I'm assuming that these might have come originally with the set. You can very easily make copies of them. And there's one character sheet which the person mentioned that they had already filled out one of the character sheets. But like I said, there's nothing special about this. You can make copies and no one would ever know. So let's see, we have one of the skill areas, Oriental style combat. Oh, that's going to cause some problems. We have computer, programmer, we have modern small arms, interactive telepathy, strategy and tactics, communications, energy sciences, and law enforcement. We're looking at the mental capacity as a 12, the neural capacity is a 20, physical, natural, and CC is 10 and 110. IPs, which is kind of like hit points based on location. So different, his overall body is 175 and he has 34 points. And these are probably what the player actually assigned. 34 points in every category of head, left arm, left leg, right leg, and then body is 175 points. So interesting. And see, and here's the bottom box. And once again, in very good condition. I mean, especially the corners. The corners are very tight, and really happy with that. So it appears to be a complete box set for $60. So not a bad price. I never include the shipping and handling because that has nothing to do with the value of the game itself. And I don't need bubble pack. So there we have it. Another good buy from eBay. Lucky buy. You could certainly find other copies of this on eBay right now. Most of them, anywhere as I saw, like the more expensive one was like $75, but it wasn't complete. It didn't have the dice. It didn't look like it was in the same condition. And then there were some that were just the books or just, whatever, missing certain portions of it. This was the only one that I saw that mentioned that it included the dice and that the box was in fairly good condition and such and complete. So for $60, anytime that you can get a game system for $60, you're doing all right. Especially if it's the complete system and you don't need supplements or anything along those lines. Now I do understand that they did make several modules for this, and that's something that I'll take a look at and see. But I tend to write my own anyway, and I'm sure there's probably like an introductory adventure in here where I can kind of see the format of it. Anyhow, if I was looking to run this as a one shot or something, it would be really cool to go to a more traditional or OSR convention, one that really focuses on OSR, and then bust out Cyborg Commando and say, all right, I'm going to run a session of one of Gary's other games other than just Dungeons and Dragons. So now I have like all three of the major ones that he had created. I have Cyborg Commando. I have behind me here Dangerous Journeys. I always mix them up, and then Dangerous Journeys and the Adventures. Well, Legendary Adventures. So he does weird spellings with legendaries, so it kind of throws me off a little bit. I forget what it says. But once again, another great buy. And really, just like Baron G. Rock said, if you're going to tout the legacy of Gary Gygax, then every once in a while break out one of his more obscure games and run it online for a group of players, or bring it to your regular gaming group and say, you know what, maybe around Gary Gygax's birthday, bring out Cyborg Commando or one of his other games and say, hey, we're going to play this for this session in memory of Gary and to support his legacy, not just in the games that that he's most well known for, but some of the other ones, some of the other more obscure games. There was the ones that he made, obviously, even before Dungeons and Dragons that you can break out and run that as well. So once again, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and leave your questions and comments in the comments section. I'm going to switch views here. And if you can get your hands on Cyborg Commando, I certainly recommend it. It looks like it's a fairly simple system, just looking at the character sheet. And the rule books are very clear. Looks like they're a pretty simple system to actually read through and understand it. And I will do some follow-up videos because this is just episode 1. It's just a box opening and first look at it. I will go through the various systems and talk about this game in a little bit more detail. So once again, thanks for joining. Have a great rest of your weekend, and I look forward to seeing you on the gaming screen sometime soon. Next year, I certainly plan on going to at least one convention. I'm hoping to get that booked, and hopefully it takes place, and I'll get out there and maybe I'll bring Cyborg Commando and run it at that convention. I'm looking to go to VentureCon. It is in July. the latter part of July. I believe it's July 23rd, 24th, and 25th. And I'm looking to get there on the 22nd. That way I can fully experience the Friday and the Saturday, and then leave and come home on Sunday. Get home in time for Monday and get back into either work or get ready for my next vacation during the summer break. So again, have a great day. Take care. Thanks for stopping in.